Welcome to Lesson 3 of Image Bearers. The first two lessons we looked into the lives of Santa and Chuck Norris. So if you missed those, be sure to check those out on the YouTube channel. But today we're going to pivot away from famous people to someone you've probably never heard of, Kim Langford. But the fact that you've never heard of her is meaningless when it comes to the extraordinary way that she bears the image of God in her life. Because Kim is a nurse. An everyday healthcare worker who willingly put herself in the epicenter of a COVID-19 outbreak. But before we get into that, let's start with a game. Sometimes our memories can fail us. And without being able to physically see God, sometimes it can be tough to remember all that He is to us. And that's where image bearers come into play. When we see godly characteristics in others, we're reminded of who God is. With that in mind, here are 3 qualities of Kim Langford and countless other healthcare workers that reflect the image of our Creator. Number 1, compassion. Back in March, as COVID began to spread like wildfire through New York, Kim knew she needed to help. After signing on with the Federal Emergency Management Agency, she got the call to fly out and come to the aid of overwhelmed New York healthcare workers and their COVID-19 patients. When most people were doing their best to stay away from New York, Kim was rushing in to help. It takes someone with a heart of true compassion to want to help in a dangerous situation like that. Luckily for us, we have a God who models compassion for us. All throughout the Psalms, we are told of God's great compassion. Psalm 103:13 says, "As a father has compassion on his children, so the Lord has compassion on those who fear him." Psalm 116:5, "The Lord is gracious and righteous. Our God is full of compassion." Psalm 119:56, "Your compassion, Lord, is great. Preserve my life according to your laws." Psalm 145:9, "The Lord is good to all. He has compassion on all he has made." And of course, there is no greater showing of compassion than when we read John 3:16, that God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. When we were in need of a lifeline, God put his rescue plan into motion through the sacrificial giving of Jesus' life. If you are going through a difficult struggle in life and you need someone to stand with you through it all, trust in our compassionate God. Number 2, confidence. Kim is a trained and experienced nurse. So when the need came up, she told her husband, "I think I can do this. I think I'm gifted for this." She had confidence in her God-given talent and abilities. But in addition to training, she relied on her faith, often praying with anxious patience and drawing back on her experiences out on the mission field to help get her through. This kind of confidence brings assurance and peace to everyone around. This kind of confidence can only come from a God who is confident in all he does and in who he is. In Isaiah 41:10, God brings assurance to his people by saying, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous hand." As I read that verse, I'm struck by how many times God says, "I will do this, and I will do that." God is confident that he is all that we need. 2 Corinthians 3:5 points to the same idea when it says, "Not that we are sufficient in ourselves to claim anything as coming from us, but our sufficiency is from God." If you ever struggle with doubt or fear or your sense of self-worth, draw back to the confidence of God, who is always our source of strength. Number 3, relentless. For 6.5 weeks, Kim worked tirelessly in the Newark Hospital caring for COVID-19 patients. For the first 12 days, she worked 12-hour shifts, caring for up to 13 patients each shift, a patient load about 3 times greater than what she was accustomed to. This type of relentlessness goes above and beyond the call of duty of a nurse. Where does this kind of never give in, never give up attitude come from? You guessed it, our God, who relentlessly pursues a relationship with us, never giving in and never giving up. Luke equates the extent of God's desire for us in 3 parables in Luke chapter 15: the lost sheep, the lost coin, and the lost son. In the parable of the lost sheep, a shepherd loses 1 out of his 100 sheep, and yet he leaves the 99 he has in order to go and find the one he lost. And after he finds it, he calls his friends and neighbors to come and celebrate. Similarly, in the parable of the lost coin, a woman has 10 silver coins and loses just 1. So she lights up a lamp and carefully sweeps through the house until she finds it, and then once again invites her friends and neighbors to celebrate. And finally, in the parable of the lost son, a father is disgracefully treated by his son, who leaves the family home for a time of rebellious living. And when the son comes to his senses and shamefully returns home, he isn't disowned or punished. He is welcomed back with open arms and a big celebration. These 3 parables speak to the great lengths that God goes to for us, even risking his own reputation and looking like a fool in order to be in relationship with a rebellious and unfaithful people. To him, we are worth the great price, and he will not give up until we return to the safety of his loving arms. For this week's challenge, check out the full story of Kim's time in New York at thechristianchronicle.org, and then ask yourself how God may be calling you to use your gifts and talents to come to the aid of someone in need. The more we utilize our God-given gifts and talents, the more we bear the image of our Creator.